In the Pits is partnered with Paintball Kumite. Paintball Kumite is a program designed by Colt Roberts of professional team San Antonio X Factor to take paintball players of all ages, experience levels, and skill groups and mold them into champions. The program breaks the game down into small, easy-to-learn sessions designed to help you master the fundamentals so that you can elevate your game. Newcomers to the program get a free 1-hour introductory class when mentioning In the Pits. To sign up for a class, message at Paintball Kumite on Instagram. In the Pits Paintball Podcast is sponsored by FU Athletics. Created with a purpose and focused on building a better you. We are a brand that matters in your workout, and every purchase gives back to cancer research. Go to thefuathletics.com and use code INTHEPITS at checkout for 15% off your order. In the Pits is partnered with Get Dat Shot. Get Dat Shot provides both photo and video coverage to teams and individuals competing at USXBL. Message GetDat_shot on Facebook or Instagram for more details. Wanting a print of your favorite photo? Go to getdatshot.smugmug.com, select your photo, and use code GDS20OFF at checkout for 20% off of your order. Hello everybody, this episode of In the Pits is sponsored by FU Athletics, created with a purpose and focused on building a better you. We are a brand that matters in your workout and every purchase gives back to cancer research. Go to thefuathletics.com and use code INTHEPITS for 15% off of your order. Welcome everyone to episode 6 of In the Pits Paintball Podcast. This podcast is focused on everything that has to do with the paintball scene in Texas, from professional players and teams to new divisional programs, local tournament series, field owners, Texas-based brands, even photographers and videographers. Every week we will have a short and sweet 30-minute episode with a new topic and new special guest. I'm Christian Smith, I'm a player for the Texas Titans, and this episode we are going in the pits with Sasha Zucker, owner of the Dragoons. Sasha, how are you doing this evening?
Hey Christian, so good to be here, man. I was telling you before we started, I had this idea that there really needs to be a paintball podcast for Texas because there's just so much going on here. There's so many personalities. There's so much exciting stuff happening. And yeah, I even told you I bought this book called Everyone Has a Podcast But You, and I didn't even crack it open because I've just got so much going on between the team and family and work and everything. But when you did, I was just like no-brainer, and it was a dream of mine to be on here so I could continue my quest to become a D-list paintball celebrity out there. So thanks for having me on. You're helping me. This is turning out to be like the best week of paintball for me since this past weekend, which we'll talk about. But yeah, I'm great. I'm happy to be here.
Dude, glad to have you. I mean, D-list, come on. You've got all those meme pages now. You're probably at least
So
a
far,
B-list now.
like I'm a C minus. I'm so far down the list if you look at the world of paintball, but it's great to be here. Thanks.
Yeah. So for those listening, maybe they don't know very much at all about you. So for you personally, how long have you been involved in the Texas paintball scene?
Yeah, so it's real interesting. I want to go all the way back to little Sasha, about 7 or 8 years old, and I was at home watching TV like we did back in the 80s because we didn't have like the internet or video games or anything. Like kids down the street had ColecoVision and Atari. But TV comes on 6:30. There's a show called PM Magazine, and they featured this new sport called paintball. It was the sport for doctors and lawyers, and there's a luxury sport, and it showed these people run around the woods with camo on. It was amazing looking. Like when you're 8 years old, you're seeing people playing with real guns, like paintball guns, but playing war like you did with sticks. And man, that just like stuck with me through the years. I just looked for, I was always on the lookout for paintball fields, and it was super expensive, back then. It was a sport for people that had a lot of money. That didn't really change. That still really hasn't changed, but when I moved to Texas around 1989, and then finally I got my shot to play some paintball. It was in Austin because I lived in Austin, and there was this. I don't know how it happened and how my parents took me there, but there was this guy that the paintball field was literally an empty lot of scrub brush. Not empty, but it wasn't like cleared. It was a woods ball field because there wasn't anything else back in 1996. And the staging area was this guy's pickup truck, and he was renting to you pump guns with 12 grams and, maybe a couple tubes of paintballs. I bet it was like $40. And, he went out and played, and he went around the field and ran around. And that was the Texas paintball scene back as far as I knew, at least for rec ball. I mean, there was no real established fields, and I was just a little kid. I moved out to California and I played rec ball out there. I actually played in near one of the fields. I never went there, but I lived in the Bay Area, and Mare Island was where Dynasty was, and they had just shut down like right after I started playing paintball around 1998 when I got my job out of college. I had some money to burn. So I was going around playing rec ball with my pro carbine, and I knew about tournament paintball. Like I knew about the Ironman, I knew about autocockers and stuff like that, but there wasn't really didn't have the money for it. So then I moved back to Texas in 2002 or so, and I got a good job, and I want to go play paint. I just wanted to go play paintball again. So I took my pro carbine, which I never got rid of, and my JT Flex, which is if I'd kept it, would probably be worth about like $500 now. But of course, that's long gone. And I went out and played at Lone Star, which is this field where actually I think Colt and Dixon started out. I didn't know that. I was just a rec baller, and they had this amazing field that was in a quarry. Like you'd go run around a quarry, and they did have an airball field. And I remember they had the usual like rec ballers versus tournament players. So all the rec ballers, like 30 of us, were on one side in the airball field, and it was not like the current get-ups where it's all standardized. It was like weird bunkers with cones, and go back and watch the old videos. And the other side, the tournament players, I remember running up to the middle, and I'm pretty sure like Dixon or Colt was in the snake and just shot the hell out of me. I don't know if it was really them because I didn't know anything, but I'm pretty sure it was like those guys like Grace and all that they were in the scene. I just knew that there were these, there was a tournament scene. So I stopped playing. I just sort of gave it up for a little bit. And then in 2006, I was skipping around on ESPN2. And what did I come across but the Smart Parts World Championships? And I was just listening to Colt's podcast today, and he just couldn't remember the name of it. But that guy with his white mask, his white event mask he was wearing, playing the Naughty Dogs, they went and won the whole thing. And I was just introduced to this whole world that I didn't know about. There were all these characters. There was Dynasty. They were saying all sorts of funny stuff. There was Excessive. They all had names and attitudes, and Matty Marshall was the paintball legend who was the announcer, and these guns looked amazing. You could tell that like the main skill was going like this with your fingers. Like that didn't exist when I was a kid. Like the only electronic gun I saw before that was an Angel, in 2002. I never shot or anything, but I remember seeing one of those, a tournament guy showed up when I played at this field called Constant Pursuit or Constant Action Austin. My brother, who got me into paintball, he wanted to go play some paintball when we were in town, and we went there, and there was this guy that was all decked out in the tournament gear. He had like the sock hat, he had like the jersey and an Angel, and it looked amazing, but I didn't even know what Angel was. I had a Pro Light, and that seemed pretty lame, but it's all I knew about. So I saw the Smart Parts World Championship, and I was just like, the internet was now here. It's 2006 or 7. And I just went on the internet, and I was like, this is awesome. Look at all these teams. There's this whole world I don't know about. There's the NPPL. There's this thing called the NXL. There's all these, there's the paintball media. Like I'd always looked at like action pursuit games and stuff like that and Borders, but like the internet was a whole different level. Like you got drawn into like the melodrama of it all. And then I found out that here in San Antonio, where I'd lived at the time, and I still do, but this is like 2006, that there's a pro team in San Antonio, X Factor, and they just gone pro. It was 2006. They were entering their second year pro, and I got to read the drama in the Paintball magazine about how that they're these kids, and everyone had talked smack about how they couldn't do it in pro. Like they were winning Division 1, but it's a whole different league. But then when they got to division, they got to pro and made Sunday, and the other teams didn't. They showed them, and it was just this great story, right? And they're right here in town. So I went out, immediately, I started playing again. I was playing rec ball at Crossfire, and I would sometimes go to nights, and that was like a scary scene. Like you're a young guy, you don't remember, but for a rec ball player, if you're just showing up with like an ion, which is what I had, like there's all these guys and they're shooting the hell at each other and they're spending all this money, and it was super serious, and it's on airball, and you don't know how to get on a team. Like I didn't know anybody. So I was real wimp. Like I didn't want to get shot that much. So I just stuck to rec ball. Occasionally we go over and check out the scene at nights, which was the real spot. I mean, that's where X Factor practiced. I did an X Factor clinic there, which was really my introduction to like learning the game. It was Brett the Threat, what was his name? What's his last name? Cohen. Brett the Threat Cohen was the main guy running the clinic, and this other, a couple of the guys, the original BKIT were all still there. And so I was going to Crossfire, and I decided I wanted to get into, what I figured out was that if you wanted to get on a team, right, it didn't matter how awesome you looked in rec ball. Like, what you need to do, Christian, is you need to buy an expensive gun. All right. That's how you do it. Because in rec ball, like, if someone's got like an Ego 7 and they're shooting the hell out of all the little birthday party kids, like, oh, that guy's good, right? The guy would show up with a shocker, Tauntaun shocker. That guy's good, right? Like, that's how you know. I had an ion. Like, nobody's gonna get a 30-year-old guy with an ion, however old I was at the time, to join their team with an ion. So what I did is I ordered from A&S Gear, not sponsored. I'm just saying. I ordered a Bob Long Closer, which was an amazing looking gun. The original Mark series, and it had this amazing milling. And I don't know if you kids know, but Bob Long guns are known for shooting crazy fast. Like, go watch those old videos. When the Bob Long Intimidator came out, like, that was the end of the autococker, even with the E-blade, because it just shoot, like, they said it didn't cheat, but you just get those fingers flying and bam, like, you're just shooting 20 balls a second, like shooting everybody, right? And I knew from going to play at nights that I was getting the hell shot out of me by these guys with like infamous Intimidators. So I got myself a Bob Long gun, and boom, I went out and was practicing. There's this team there named Meltdown, and I shot a bunch of them. And they invited me to play because they saw I had a mark. They saw I had a closer, so they invited me to play with them because I was obviously a serious player. And I shot like 3 of them in a game, and they're like, "Well, you want to join the team?" I'm like, hell yeah, this is my chance. Now I'm on a paintball team. But here's the thing, Christian. Things are amazing now, right? We got tournaments every weekend. There was nothing. There was nothing in Texas in 2007. Bunkerfest had 3 years, I think they ran, the original Bunkerfest by Animal Paintball. You can go find the video on if you go on eBay and see you'll see some old X Factor players like Derek Jordan's on there, right? And there was nothing. Like, that ended and paintball dried up. So to play a tournament in San Antonio, there were no tournaments really in San Antonio. Nights would have like a rookie 3-man every once in a while, just on a lark. We had to drive to Houston and play in Tank's Rookie League. And I don't know if that's even still around, but it was a 3-man league, and it was played on rec ball fields. Like, there was one airball field, but we were just legit playing these tournaments on like crazy pallet fields, like one junk field where just like random junk from a junkyard practically. You'd play 3-man, and it wasn't like X-Ball. It was just you play every other team, and you just work your way up. And we did pretty well in that. We were getting, top 4. But around that time, like 2013, there was the inklings of Texas Paintball. All right. And what started to, there was still X Factor. Like, X Factor at this point had left Knights and gone out and bought the Realm, and they started Maximum Paintball. Around the time that they were, making their early run pro. The clear thing you've got to do if you've got a pro team, like, you have to own your own field if you can. Like, you don't have to worry about dealing with the owners. So they had their field, but there was still no real paintball. But then something called AXBL showed up, and it was this guy who I'd seen in the webcasts. The NPPL webcast, which, like, you kids don't even know what it was like. Like, first of all, you had to wait, a year to watch paintball on DVD. And then if you had a webcast, it was like a postage stamp, like this big on your screen that you're looking at, like horrible resolution. And there was no alternate views. If you want to see what that's like, go find PB Star on YouTube and watch some old videos to see how awful the webcasts were. But,
oh yeah. Hey, Sasha. So it sounded like we're getting an entire history of basically the whole history of Texas paintball here. Let's kind of get.
I'm getting there. Okay. So I played with Meltdown, and we didn't do so well. So then AXBL started, and there's this team called Dingo Ate Your Baby that was formed by this guy named Ralph Lukatek in 2013. All right. And I'm still on Meltdown, still playing. We played the last Bunkerfest. Dingo Ate Your Baby had this team, Ralph Lukatek, Grant Hopwood, Jay Lake, Sam Wolf, and me. And we played like 2 events, and then Ralph moved away with all our jersey money. Great story, typical paintball. But at that time, we had the last Bunker Fest. Bunker Fest just made a comeback. It was like the fourth one or third one. And I just decided to stop playing paintball. Okay, so I retired. I was having my second kid. All right, I told you I was getting somewhere. My second kid, and I stopped for about 4 years, and then I decided I missed paintball, and I came back and I started asking around. Like I asked Grant, who'd been on the team with the original Dingo Ate Your Baby, that what it was, what was going on, and he talked about this team Texas Rising, and there were some notable people on there like Shuri Richter and Jay Lake from the previous team was on there. Played a couple tournaments with them, but they wouldn't let me start, and we didn't really. The team was sort of disorganized a little bit. So Grant suggested that I start a team. He's just like, "Why don't we just start our own team?" So I said, "Hell yeah, I can start a team." So this is sort of getting your next question about the origins of Dragoon. So for 2016-17, I was like, screw it. Like I've been on all these teams. I didn't really like how they run. Like, one team was disorganized, never practiced. And another guy left and stole our jerseys. And this other team that I started just now, like wouldn't let me start. So I'm going to start my own team. So I started the team. It was originally called Dingo Ate Your Baby, which is this like bizarre joke reference to a Seinfeld joke or something. And I was like, okay, whatever. It's like, I've heard worse names. So the goal of the team when I started it was to have a team where people could just join without, like, if you want to play tournament paintball, I'm going to have an Instagram account. I'm going to, advertise it. I'm just going to ask people to join, but also if someone wants to join the team, they can just join. Like, you don't have to be good at paintball. You could be just brand new, and we're going to be an entry-level team, and I'm going to teach you how to play. At this point, like, I'd been going to clinics, I've been studying the game, and I felt like I knew enough. This is 5 years ago. And we started the team. So, we started playing local tournaments. And by this time, AXBL, since in the intervening time that I left, to become USXBL, and just paintball had exploded. Okay, now it's 2016. Now we're starting to see, tournaments where, Greg Pauly isn't just throwing me on a team, like he did in that first couple of XBLs, where he's throwing me on a team with randoms and just to get 10 guys. Like, we're selling out. Like the USXBL sells out if you're not there. There's tournaments every weekend. And that's how I started. So I was just at, 5 years ago at X Factor, and just kept showing up and kept playing. And when people wanted to join the team, just told them we practice every Sunday, just go out every Sunday. Like that's the approach. Show up every Sunday, play paintball. Not like these other teams that would just practice like right before the event. Like the goal is to play every weekend. And then the other thing is that, I really emphasize drills. I heard Colt talking about that you don't want to just show up and play. I'd done these drills with X Factor. I'd watched drills on the internet, and I just started, insisting that people that show up, like, we're going to do drills. We're going to do snap shooting. We're going to run and gun. We're going to do off the break. We're going to do all this basic fundamental stuff. The only rule I had was for new players that you have to show up, 4 times over 2 months. You have to keep showing up. You just can't be like, oh, I'm on the team after one. I did the first couple of years. I'd be like, you're on the team. But then after a while, I decided, like, I want to see people who just keep coming back to play, and not just random people that play one.
Yeah, for sure. So, if you're listening, just tuned in, Sasha just basically answered the first 5 questions that I have on my script here. So he told us, his origin story of the Dragoons. I don't know if you actually knew this, but that your remake of the Dingo Ate My Baby, that first tournament at CTPL, I was actually reffing that tournament. That was back when I was on the Texas Longhorns.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I was
Great.
reffing that team. So I guess I was around for the origins for the Dragoons. You also talked to us about kind of how your program and how you bring in the new players, how you help them learn the game, emphasizing those drills, emphasizing, just showing up, not every weekend or twice a weekend like some programs do, but, still getting them in. So I want to talk a little bit more about kind of your current core of the roster. So you guys are coming off of a second place finish at the USXBL JT Open from this past weekend. Your core seems to be pretty solid right now, but it wasn't always that way. Like, Anthony has definitely kind of been there since the beginning. A lot of the guys have actually seemed to have been kind of raised from D5. Anthony went back down to D5 to play with those guys and then brought them up with him to now what you have as your core of your D4 roster. So what do you attribute to really keeping this group of guys together?
Yeah, so I mean, another thing that stuck out from the interviews with Colt and with your great interview with Jill Stewart is just how important it is to have a core team. And I think that, the interesting thing about Diesel is that they're, and a lot of paintball teams is they have the same struggles that we've had. That's a struggle of every paintball team that tries to have any sort of longevity. I've gone through probably on Dragoons, probably close to 50 players over the past 5 years to arrive at the five or six real core D4 players that we have now. And even D5, like I tried to have a D5 line this year, and we had a great result our second event, which we can talk about, but can't keep it together. I mean, everything, the core guys that are there right now that had a great result this past week in U6BL are the guys that kept coming back. I just kept the team going. We're playing every Sunday. Are we playing this Sunday? Yes, we're playing this Sunday. They're the guys that keep coming back, that show up to practice, that have the money to, make sure that they have the money to play, that make it priority. And that's what it takes for any team to have longevity. Like Diesel had great results their first year pro, but I know that they've struggled with a turnover in the roster. X Factors had the same problem. Like, this is a problem that faces all paintball teams. So really what it takes is, identifying who your core players are and just, creating a structure for them that makes them want to stay. That's what I've really tried to bring to the team, is structure. We have practices every Sunday. I show up early. I make sure we have pods. I make sure we've got the gear we need, that provides a good team experience. I've got batteries. I've got all this stuff that I do so that people want to stay on the team and not say, well, this is lame, I'm going to go play another team that's winning right now. Because that's the other thing, is that, it's so easy just to go to see another team that's winning and leave and join that team. And I actually had that experience in my second year Dragoons. Like, my whole team not quit, but left and joined Grit, because Grit had decided to absorb all the teams at X Factor and start a D5, D4 program. So all my players that I'd been working on for like a year and a half left, and Anthony stayed. Anthony had just joined the team, and he's just been there. He's been an anchor for these past like 4 or 5 years or so. And he started out like he just came off rec ball and was really, not sure of himself, and has just turned into this monster, on the field that is a little bit hard to control sometimes, which is, you and I've talked about offline, but and you need that on your team. Like, you need those fire plugs. You need those guys that, you're just like, you have to rein in.
Yeah, for sure. But it's really good that y'all have that current core now. Like, the results are really showing. I'm really happy to see that, not just the current D4 success from this past event, but also talking about that second place at the second USXBL. That was really good for you guys. And one thing that I've noticed, being also a player at X Factor, is that y'all are starting to bring in a lot more pro coaches. You have had that relationship with Nico Hyde where you bring him in like once, twice a year, but you've started to really bring in more outside help. You've brought in Colt Roberts, you've brought in Mishka from Houston Heat. So tell us a little bit more about the experience of bringing all of these different pros in and how that has affected your success and your growth.
Yeah. I mean, remember back to, I know I went on a long rant there with my whole life history, so forgive me for that 15-minute monologue. But I think there is an important part of that, which is that we're in San Antonio with a pro team X Factor. The opportunity that we have compared to many other people that play our sport and try to be competitive is incredible. I mean, Paintball Fit is incredible also. But X Factor, you've got all these players coming from around the world. So when I found out that Nico Hyde, who just won World Cup, 3 years, 4, however long it's ago, like 4 years ago, lived outside of town in Bernie, like, next thing I did was ask him to come do a clinic, The X Factor guys were kind of they've been over the past years have been hard to get a hold of. Like a lot of them don't live in town, or they just don't want to practice other. Well, please, I'm not putting them on blast, but they'll come out and do a clinic like Grayson did the BKIT thing. But I've asked, like, can we get so and so to coach? And Colt has really come around in the last couple of years, last year and this year, and really is now started coaching, which is great. And when I found out he was doing more coaching, like I asked him to do a clinic with us before every USXBL so we could get that help. Because it's just essential. Like, how can you not take advantage of that if you have that opportunity? Otherwise, you're flying in Ryan Greenspan. And it's like it's like $2,000 just to get him there. You have to collect all the money. Like these guys are local and they can do it for couple $100 or whatever it is they charge.
Oh yeah.
Mishka was a great opportunity because again, back to my long paintball history, that monologue. Like in 2007, like the Russian Legion was unstoppable. Go look at the results. Like you can go watch those old videos. You couldn't gunfight with them. So, and I knew from my previous sports experience that because I did fencing as my primary sport before paintball, and the Russians were dominant in that as well, like the Eastern Bloc. And I'd gone and lived in Ukraine for a couple, like 3 months, and studied fencing with the kids over there. And I just knew I had to get Mishka to see the Russian style, and of course he delivered. Like his approach is impeccable perfection. Like the smallest detail cannot be missed. And I really wanted to have that experience with him. And if you can get a chance to get Mishka or any of the Russians to do a clinic for you, you should do it and get that sort of Russian approach. I mean, they changed the game about the approach to training and technique.
Oh yeah, like I don't know if you got a chance to listen to last night's episode with Niles, but he was giving very high praise for when they had some Motrov with them for so long.
Yeah.
And that's just really, really great experience to have those guys. Like Niles had some Motrov with them, coaching them at local HTPS events in D5 and D4. Like, who does that? But it's such a great thing to have if you're able to get it, especially from the Russians. But going back to what you said about us living in San Antonio and having this pro team that's local to us, Colt Roberts, shout out to Colt. His whole thing with really trying to get San Antonio paintball to once again be the premier spot in Texas. Shout out to Fit. They've been doing such great work over the years. They've been really dominant. But Colt's trying to get San Antonio back on top again. And he's doing a lot of great things, working with y'all, working with the Titans. And I think that the results are starting to show. So one quick question I did have for you guys. You were in the finals match against Tribe. Let's say you did manage to pull out the win, you got the first place. Who would be getting that MVP Powerhouse Regulator on your team?
Yeah, well, first of all, I got it's not going to be a one-word answer, so forgive me here, but
never is.
I'll try to keep it shorter. I'm aware that some people probably turned off the podcast after 5 minutes of me talking about playing in scrub brush in the 80s. But, first of all, I got to think the wives and girlfriends are the real MVPs, right? Like my wife having me disappear, not for one, but 2 weekends in a row, getting ready for this event this past weekend, totally gone the whole time, coming back late, sweating, disgusting, and then cleaning everything up to do it the next day. Also, the girlfriends and wives that showed up to help us. I don't understand why they do that, but they do. They sit there all day and fill pods and bring us, buy beer for me so we have something to drink when we made the playoffs. Afterwards to celebrate. Shout out to famous Jackie, Celia, Veronica, whose name I always screw up. I call her Victoria for some reason, even though I've known her for years now. And Rachel. And also the people in the field that support us, like Todd and Tayshawn, who clean up the huge mess we make, right? Real MVPs keeping that field going. But
Todd's
so as far as Todd is the man. But the tournament, like there's two people. I'm gonna make a split MVP like a Dynasty did with Marcelo and Blake Yarber, right? So Anthony obviously is just a killer. Like he just goes off. He'll just get in there and shoot 3 people, and he put us in a chance to win the tournament by getting a 3-pack against Avarice, one of Greed's teams. And he's just, anytime he got on the snake, like we knew we had a chance to win. So when I asked the team who's MVP, like everyone said Anthony. And I agree. But there's a guy I want to give a shout out to, Richie. That guy came out of rec ball just 2 years ago. Never played paintball, and has been, I think he listened to Play the Game podcast and just on a lark and thought it was cool. And now this guy is just like paintball maniac, like way beyond me, like fanboy and everything. And he also just works, he trains really hard and he's friends with everybody at the field in a way, like in a way that I'm not able to be. I'm just too busy or too aloof or whatever, just busy thinking about shooting people with paintball guns. But this tournament, like, he became a different player. He was always one of those guys. It's like you making the wrong decision, and gunfighting at the wrong time. But after the first point where he went off against you guys and got shot out, I came to him and I said, Richie, you're the anchor on this side of the field. Like, you're gonna be the island the whole day. Don't die. Like, stay alive. And he did it. He did it the whole day. Like, he was the anchor on that side of the field on the Dorito side, and that's what allowed Anthony to go to work on the snake side, because we could afford to dump like 2-3 people into the snake and keep pushing the snake as long as he was alive over there with Nick. So I give coaches MVP. I'll give the tournament MVP to Richie. Semifinals MVP to Anthony for sure.
Well said. I mean, shout out to Rich. He's definitely been putting in the work. We've noticed for sure. He's always there as early as we are. Putting in the work with drills and playing. He's not like some players tend to be, where they're showing up at 10:30, not even playing until close to noon, and then they play 5 or 6 points, shoot a case, and leave. No, he's really dedicated to his craft lately, and it's really showing. So shout out to Richard, shout out to Anthony. We've been noticing, y'all have been putting in the work, and you wouldn't have gotten to the finals without them, that's for sure. So real quick, everybody watching the live show, we hopefully we'll have time for one question at the end. So if you've got a question you want to ask Sasha, go ahead and put that in the chat. So Sasha, something near and dear to your heart here. You're really big into those older markers, especially the autocockers. So which, let's say if you had to pick one marker, and we're going to, classify older markers, let's say at least 5 years or older,
Sure.
which I'm sure your collection definitely spans much more than 5 years ago. So which older marker at least 5 years old would you say is your favorite to use?
Yeah, I mean, if I had spent so much time on talking about playing paintball in the '80s as a kid, I'd go through my whole collection. But the one that I think I have to reach for, I mean, I've got, if you guys want to see my collection, go and find my "These Are My Ladies" meme. Which
Yes.
You can see almost all of them except the carnivore. I'll bring out the carnivore. I was going to say the carnivore. Matty Marshall talked about recently how he made it. I asked a question to Play the Game, and he answered it talking about how they made the carnivore cool. The carnivore was already cool. Everyone loves to see a carnivore, but it's really the Dynasty Ion. All right. And the reason why I'm bringing this one up, first of all, the Dynasty body kit makes your Ion heavier and more expensive. So that's important. I've got this one tricked out with a freak barrel and a CP ASA and some cheap, whatever this is called, the clamping feed neck. But the Ion, I think, it's important because it changed the game, but also it makes a point that, like, you don't need to buy that expensive gun. Like, I went out and bought the Closer because I want to be taken seriously, but this gun, will just shoot people with one paintball just as best, as well as that carnivore or a $2,000 Twister CS2 will. So kids out there, like, you don't have to buy that expensive gun, especially if you're on my team. Like, sell those expensive guns so you have money to pay for for paintball, please, and just get like a CZR or something. But the Ion just, it changed the game. It made, you didn't have to buy a $2,000 Angel. Like, you could go out and compete with X Factor, and my first X Factor clinic was with an Ion. Yeah.
Awesome. So
that's
Ion,
the one I reached for.
Ion is his answer. Cool Gray King in the chat asks, Virtue board or nah?
Virtue board. Come on, Ion Virtue. Do it. Wait, how does it go? The Ion Virtue. Let's go. I can't remember. I'm blanking on it right now. But Virtue. Funny thing is, they gave a lifetime warranty on their boards, and they don't support that anymore. So actually, I've got the Blackheart board in this because it works. The Virtue boards sometimes are wonky because the capacitors get loose. And if you want a board for an older gun, I'll give a shout out actually to Sci-Fi Paintball. Everyone should know about them. They make gun or boards for they're just crazy with like Bluetooth and amazing settings and a iPhone app. And my Carnivore's got one, my Intimidator's got one. Um, what else is my Shocker's got one? Sci-Fi Paintball. Go check that out. They're based here in Texas. It's a Texas guy,
Really?
and he's gonna have a sale this weekend. So go find him on Facebook and go get ready for that drop if you want an autococker board from them because it's gonna
Awesome.
be
So
Friday night. Yep.
Sci-Fi Paintball tomorrow night. Got their drop. Cool. So,
Yeah.
Sasha, one other thing near and dear to your heart are the memes. Of course, you've got
Yeah.
multiple Instagram pages that you just post constantly on, and some of my favorite were like the ladies one that you just talked about. That's
Yeah.
definitely my favorite one that's on your page. So, if you're not familiar, go follow Sasha's page. He's got the Dragoons team page, which is at Dragoons Paintball. He's also got his personal one, which is at papa.sosh.paintball, or is it papa.sosh?
Dragoons.
Dragoons. Okay.
Dragoons, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, don't follow my personal one. I'm not going to post a whole lot there. That's just like for vanity and also so I can tag myself. The other one is dragoons.paintball, and I do a mix of. So I remember Hinman was saying on Play the Game that the teams don't do enough media, and you guys tight ends need to do way more.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
with all the trophies you're getting, just killing it. Especially your D5 team this year, like you should just be blowing up. But I feel that the Instagram is just a fun hobby for me, but I also use to support the sponsors because Virtue needs us to do social media posts, so I do that. And I do the memes because I start seeing these memes. The first one I made was of this guy kicking down a door where it says, the first door says, just keep using current marker. And the second door says late model at affordably priced marker, like maybe CS1. And then the third one says, brand new in box, limited edition marker, quote, sorry, lol, no money for practice or tournaments. I mean, that's like the common story in teams, right?
Yep.
Like this guy shows up, he's got this amazing gun. He's got the Ali Long DM8 that he bought on Mason's Paintball. And then he's like, oh, it's time for practice. Oh man, can I split a box? Oh, tournament's coming up. Oh, can I pay you back? What the hell are you doing with like the $1,500 gun, dude? Like sell that and buy a CZR and you've got like $1,300. Like that's the whole season right there for your tournament practice. So basically the memes are outlet for me of like the frustration. The other one is like Marge talking to Homer and about like he's got this fish and he caught the fish and Marge is like, why are you catching this fish? And he says to impress those weirdos in the worm store. Like that's a common experience. Like this is such an insular sport. Like, why are you going to Waxahachie again? Like, why would anyone go to Waxahachie? Would you go to Waxahachie if there wasn't Paintball Fit there? It's like a speed bump, right? On nothing against the people that live there, but it's like stopping at like some other random place, like Italy, Texas, or something. So, it's a fine city. But otherwise I wouldn't go there. So it's just like, trying to explain to my wife and coworkers why I'm going there, So I just and then of course the one for tonight was the guy from Festivus saying, I've got a lot of problems with you people and now you're going to hear about it, like self-explanatory. I think you've already heard about, all the problems I've had.
Oh yeah. I just want to say real quick, I love how prepared you've come. You've got all these different markers just ready to flash on the camera.
Yeah. Come on, dude. Like we got to put on a show. I want your
yeah.
podcast to be successul.
That's awesome.
Like no one wants to just listen to me nasally drone. Yeah, I started Dragoons in 2012. Like nobody wants to hear that. Like let's, for the podcast guys, they're just listening. I only listen to the podcast because I can't go I don't have time to sit and watch a YouTube show. But you just go and watch, and you can skip the first 20 minutes of me lecturing about paintball in the 90s, and you can see a couple like a Dynasty Ion.
Yeah, I've got to say, Sasha, you're definitely the most prepared guest that I've had so far on the show. So props to that. Thank you so much. Before we go, we're getting towards the end. So real quick, chat members, if you got something you want to ask Sasha, get it in the chat now. So you've talked a little bit about sci-fi paintball, but are there any other Texas-based either teams, players, brands, projects that have caught your attention? So who does the rest of Texas need to know about if they don't know already?
I'm going to go through and I've got a list here. Like, first of all, sorbetpaintball.com. My homie Sevi on the team. He's trying to get like this YouTube channel going and become an influencer so he can, be like Ronnie Dizon and, I guess like make mad Google AdWords money from that. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. I've given him stern lectures about improving and making protecting the Dragoons brand, and hopefully he'll do that with less people pounding beers at NXL or whatever, and more of us, being good teammates. Enjoy paintball with Nico. Everyone go buy his headbands. Anthony Bosmans actually makes the headbands for him. So you're supporting my team and Nico with Enjoy Paintball. And Nico's got, he's got the attitude that I have, which is just like, we're having fun. It's not a business. Like, we're just going shooting each other in the neck for fun. Don't take it too serious. Enjoy the camaraderie. Get That Shot is, best photographer since Verbal and anyone else to come out of Texas. I immediately hired him twice for 2 events, and it was worth it. I'm still using his shots because they're just amazing. Don't need to hire him again, unfortunately for him. So everyone else go and hire him. For instance, Outlaw Anodizing did one of my Luxes. They're here in Texas. Great anodizer. Always busting my chops on Instagram about stealing my pods. Everyone stop stealing my pods. Innocent bystanders. I want to talk about innocent bystanders and Caesar. Like, Caesar is doing the same thing I'm doing, and his team is incredibly huge. I think they've got a brighter future than Dragoons, because we're all old with kids, and he's got all these 17-year-olds, and like, he's doing it. He's giving a lot of opportunity. And, we've squabbled with them on the field, but I really hope the best for his team and hope that they have a lot of success. And anyone that's willing to run a paintball team deserves a medal, the way he's doing it. I can't believe the army of kids he's got over there. And also, John Trimba and Brandon Summers played with him last event. I hope that continues, because they're going to bring good stuff to that team, since Ruthless kind of folded last year. And then finally, Tayshawn Crenshaw. People, please go hire him to do video work. He needs work, and I don't want to see him shoveling paintballs at the field. I want to see him making awesome videos, which is his dream. That's it. Thanks for indulging me that list there.
No, it's definitely a great list. Shout out to Innocent Bystander. Shout out to Caesar. Definitely a big shout out to Carlos. Get That Shot. He's an official partner of the podcast. He does a couple of photo things for me. Gets some posts for social media. Yeah, Carlos does a lot of great things, and he's come a long way really, really quickly. So we've got one question from the chat. Let's see. This is from BEM Raps. The question is, do you think 10-man mech-style events would get a good turnout in Texas, and where?
Absolutely. Well, X Factor was supposed to have one. The Lone Star Open. They made flyers. They made shirts. 2 years ago, Greg Pauly came out and was consulting with Alex about doing a 10-man event, and we were super excited about it. I've got my mech Ion. I had an mech autococker at the time. Never happened. I'd like to see them, bring that back and get that going. It would be awesome to see. I think the plan was to have something like Iron City, where all the old school players came out and played, and that would be just to see a pro 10-man with all those guys from when I was a kid playing would just be incredible. And there's definitely Valhalla plays here. I know you guys scrimmage with them. And my guys would definitely, we have to buy some mech guns, but I'm sure we'd throw in a team, so it definitely should happen.
Oh yeah, definitely room for growth for sure in Texas with the mech scene. I mean, that the AC program, they're all big on entering mech teams with AC Empire. A couple of the X Factor guys go and mixing with Infamous come time for the pro mech events. Obviously, Valhalla has Matt Jackson and John Jackson involved with them whenever they go play mech. I think there's definitely room for growth there. It's a lot of fun, and it's a new part of the game. Definitely a lot to learn for people like me who've got in somewhat recently. I joined the scene in January of 2015 was my first time playing speedball, so definitely a new way to play the game and a lot to learn there. So Sasha, thank you so much for your time. Do you have any last shout outs or things you'd like to say before we sign off?
Yeah, definitely want to thank my wife and kids for putting up with me doing this hobby for all these years, especially my wife, who gets left with the kids, and my extended family, who moved to town recently and can help take care of the kids. I got my 8-year-old, my 10-year-old, Max, 10-year-old, 8-year-old, Vincent, who started doing some pod running, although I have to pay him to do it. And then also our sponsors, Virtue Paintball, Built to Win, Bunker Kings, We Kill Suckers, right? Great masks and loaders. Carbon Paintball has been a great sponsor. Walker out there is super friendly and has a great time at events. Best pack I've used is the SC pack. Enjoy Paintball as a supporter. Nico Hyde, X Factor Paintball Park, not really a sponsor technically, but they support all of us, right? That play there. They make it possible for us to do this sport. Under Industries has been our jersey sponsor, not sponsor, but jersey provider for years, and they've been helping us. And I always love seeing his memes. He's been inspiration for memes. And then, of course, Sorbet Paintball. Not sure really what Sorbet Paintball does as a sponsor, but I put him on the jersey. I think he makes he found my marker that I left on the field this past weekend when we got second or first place. Not first, we didn't get first, second place. So he's my marker finder when I forget it. That's it.
Awesome. Shout out to all of them. Shout out to X Factor, obviously. Takes really good care of us. One more shout out for Todd, the man at X Factor. He takes really good care of all of us. So, y'all, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please be sure to go follow Sasha and the Dragoons over at dragoons.paintball on Instagram. What other guests would you like to see on the show? If you're watching the YouTube recording of this, please be sure to leave a comment down below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. The show goes live weekly here on twitch.tv/inthepitspaintballpodcast. Recordings posted to YouTube every Thursday. Although I will not have a show next week. I will be on my honeymoon going to Vegas with my wife finally. 2 years late, but finally getting it done. So special thanks to Get That Shot for being a partner with the show. See you all August 3rd. We're still trying to line up a guest for that. I'm trying to see if I can get Colt Lacow on for when we return. So y'all, see you in 2 weeks for episode 7 of the show. Wow, we're already getting to episode 7. Thank you so much, Sasha.
Thanks, Christian, for having me on, and I appreciate your patience with me with my 15-minute monologue at the beginning there.
Oh yeah,
y'all take care.
That was the best part.
And get Dylan on. I want to know his secrets for Titans.
Yep, he'll be on soon. Don't worry about that. He's gonna be on. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.